Hello everyone! Welcome to an exciting Amigos hardware segment. I'm Amigo Aaron. Tonight, we're going to be taking a quick look at a couple of things that I just got in the mail. And it's going to be this little number right here. This is the Imperium Solo-USB. In this case for the Amiga. What is this, you ask? Well, you'll notice on one side of this you've got a standard Atari style joystick port or mouse port on the Amiga, and the other side, oh, what's this? It's a USB port. Allegedly, now when I ordered these things, these would allow your Amiga to use USB joysticks and mice, various ones. The fellow that put this together over at spinpoint.org/imperium/ he is the fellow that's selling these. They were quite reasonable. I believe I paid a total of, I think it was under 50 bucks shipped. Very reasonable for two of these. So it seemed like a really good deal. And so I thought we would stick a couple of these in and see what they did. So let me tell you what I've got here to try out. I've got a retro bit, see if you can get that out of the glare. This is a retro bit USB joystick. I've got, which is not on the support list. I also have a wired Xbox 360 stick that is on the support list. And as a mouse, I've got this IBM style, old school, crappy little mouse. But it is USB. So what we're going to do is, I've got the item in hand. I'm going to plug it in here. And you can see there are some, if you look closely at this, you'll see there are some jumpers on there. These jumpers I checked, and they're in the correct configuration for the Amiga. Now, this also supports the Amiga CD32, the Atari ST, the Amstrad, the C64, and the Mega Drive. So you've got a very nice selection there for these items, and you will change the jumpers accordingly. They also will support external power for devices that do charging. I think the Amiga is the biggest culprit of that, with certain things like charging up your PlayStation 4 style joystick. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This is just a simple test to see what we get. So I'm going to plug this in and we will see how we do. So give me 1 second to plug it in and we will fire the Amiga. Is powered on. We're going to put the mouse into the port here. Here we go. Now you can see that went from flashing to solid. Now we're going to do the same with the joystick. Ignore my kitty. Okay. So here's the joystick we're using. Alright, that was harder than it should have been. We're going to plug this in here. It's just tight squeeze here. I'm going to angle it in here. Okay. And there we go. So those are both in. They're both solid. Okay, so now we have fired up the Amiga. Notice that this happened on the mouse. That seems like a good sign. And I've got a, as I mentioned before, I've got this retro bite, or your retro bit joystick. This actually came out of a little console I bought. Grab this thing, try to get over. The joystick out of this Retrocade, Super Retrocade. Kind of a neat little machine. So now we have arrived at the moment of truth. I'm going to move the mouse around. See if we get any action. And look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Now, the mouse will take some adjusting, I think, but it is working. So right out of the gate, we are in business here. Now, let's try to load up a game here. We'll try something simple. I want something with 2 buttons, so we'll try Battle Squadron. How about that? It'll take a second for this compact flash to churn through all these these directories. Now, why did I buy this, you might ask? Well, really, the mouse was a big part of it, if to be completely honest. That tank mouse is just killing me on these, and my other mouse is not that good either. A USB mouse would be great. Allegedly, just to run through a list, and I'm not going to run through all these, but I'm looking over the list here of USB game controllers this supposedly will run. You've got the Dragon Rise GameCube USB, the Dragon Rise Super Nintendo USB, the Hori Fighting Commander 1, the iNext SNES Wireless, the Micreel Tribe Retro Wireless, the Microtech Luminous wired USB, Xbox 360 wired, which we'll try, a Microsoft Xbox One controller. A lot of people don't realize the original Xbox controllers were in fact USB. They just had a weird end on them, and there's little adapters. I should try one of those. A Nintendo Switch Pro controller, not bad. The NES USB Gamepad, Super Nintendo Gamepad. So I guess those are off the minis, perhaps. They say OEM. The DualShocks, Sony DualShock 3 and 4 versions 1 and 2, and among others. So there's quite a few. And in terms of the mice, Logitech, Microsoft, OEM. I think the mice will probably be a lot easier. So this should load up by now. Let's go ahead and try to. This mouse is going to take some getting used to. That's for darn sure. But I think with some adjustment, it'll be fine. Also, I didn't bring an actual mouse pad in here. So let's try Battlezone and see if this joystick's going to work. And then we'll even try something really crazy. We'll try hot swapping the joystick. What the hell, I'm a gambler. So again, we are using this Retrobit controller. These are as generic as the day is long. It's a great song there. Turn it down just a smidge. Not deaf anymore. Alright, sorry about that. So, I'm now going to hit a button. Oh, okay. We are getting input. We're going to hit it again. And we are here. So, press button to start. Now, this game supports 2 buttons. Okay. I am going to hold this up here so you can see. Now we're on. And look at that. Alright. Now, according to the documentation, different buttons do different things. So that's the fire button. That's nice. Okay, there's your super bomb button. So we're getting 2 buttons right there. There's another super bomb. So there's that. That one seems to do nothing. And then the left mouse button here apparently is rapid fire. Well, that's not the best. I said mouse button. I meant this button here. The left button, shoulder button, apparently is rapid fire. So probably not the best place you'd want that. But still, this is successful. This feels fine. That's great. I think it's funny. I think in this particular instance, the more generic the stick, the better off you may be. But I wish the rapid fire were in a better spot. But otherwise, this is running quite nicely, I have to say. I'm not having any trouble controlling the ship. I mean, it feels real smooth. And that was straight out of the box. There are no drivers. There's no nothing to change anything or do anything. Now, the gentleman also states that he will be adding supported controllers via an upgradable firmware. And the way that'll work is to get a USB stick, put a file on it, and then literally slide it into the USB port on the converter, and it will automatically upgrade, assumably. I looked on the web page here, and the last upgrade was actually right at the end of December, 12/31. With the firmware was updated, so I'm assuming mine has the newest firmware, since I think this is the first batch. I think I was amongst the first people to get involved But there you go. So what we're going to do now, and this is crazy. We're going to unplug this, and I'm going to plug in the Xbox 360 wired controller. These are the only two controllers I've got on hand, except for a PlayStation controller. We might try that one too, one of the PlayStation Minis. So stand by. I'm going to make the swap. Be right back. Okay, so we've made the swap to this. Nothing exploded, so I'm going to hit the button and see what happens. Now you can see this controller has one of those flashing gimmicks in it from the Xbox 360, and it's flashing. I don't know if that's a good sign or not. Okay, the button worked, so we did get some action here. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, we've drifted to the upper right-hand side of the screen. Let's see, I'd wager, from my experience, this is probably the analog. And sure enough, these analogs are active. Normally, it's a good thing, but in this case, I think it's a bad thing because you can see the drift involved. See, there we go. Buttons are working. Control both the gamepad and the analog are working. However, that drift is a real problem. That drift is no good. Now, what have we learned? You can hot swap joysticks, apparently, without destroying things, because I just did it, which is interesting. I mean, there's a lot of, that's kind of cool. The fact that there's drift on this, though, that's a bummer. And this is listed in the supported controllers. So, I mean, it's possible that it's just that my analogs have drift. I don't know if there's a way to turn off the analog sticks on these things. I don't think there is. Unlike the PlayStation, but you can just kind of turn them off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one out, and we'll try one of the PlayStation Mini joysticks. It's the only other USB stick I've got. So right now, these are a no-go for me with my stick. So stand by. So, lastly, we have plugged in this, which is a USB PlayStation Mini controller that I had sitting around. We will see what that does. Again, I've hot swapped them. Now, one thing I'll mention that these little adapters have an LED in them, and when you plug them into your joystick ports, they flash. And when you plug in something to them that's a USB device, they stop flashing and stay solid. So it's helpful. I'll get to more of those in a minute. Let's go ahead and try this stick, this last one here. So the button worked. In this case, it was the square button. Now this has, whoops, this has no analogs. So we'll see what it does. Okay, game starts. Okay. Up. Nope, we're drifted all the way to the top of the screen. Buttons seem to be working, but I've got no control. That's a bummer. No control at all. I can hear myself shooting. I can see the shots, but no dice on that one. So it looks like these for now. These PlayStation Minis. I'm surprised with no analog. So that may just be an issue. I don't know. I don't know what the scoop is on that. So let me exit out of this for some final thoughts here. I'm going to shut this down. Let me switch screens. So I think it's a pretty successful test. I want to pull one of these out here. So again, this is the PlayStation Mini plugged in. Now, notice these items here. That's a straight up adapter. What does it not have on it? What it doesn't have is any sort of protective plastic container. Now, the fellow has put a layer of plastic around them, adhered it to them, and you can see it's so it shouldn't short out, and it seems pretty sturdy. It's a pretty sturdy board. Okay. However, and it's funny, I just saw a thing on Tinmark did a story the other day on I believe it was a video converter device, and it was just like this, just a little project board that with the stuff put on there, but no protective stuff on it. Personally, and I know plastics are expensive, and this would be a custom job, I would like to see something on there, if for any reason, to provide some sort of protection and to give this thing a little more stability. So as it stands now, again, this is a stable device. I'm not going to rag on it, but that is a concern of mine. It fits nicely into the joystick port. It has no screws here, so if you were going to try to screw that in, I mean, it's got screw holes, so I guess you could do it yourself. I like the idea that it's upgradable. You know, it sort of worked out of the box, so that's not too bad. If you have, but I mean, we're in a crazy world of Amiga where you get a lot of wacky stuff, right? And this is just another in a long line of wacky stuff. I love wacky, as you know. So your mileage is going to vary. This is probably a fella, I saw this guy on Facebook actually, who's just making these things, and I think they're, for the price, I think it's a heck of a bargain, if you want the truth, so far. Now, this Saturday, I'll be taking these, and as I record this, which is this is January 6th, this Saturday, which is January 11th, at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Tays Valley Classic Computer Club, I'll be taking both of these over, and me and Bode are going to hook these into his Amiga 1000, and we're going to try every joystick that we can find, and every mouse that we can find to test on this, and try our luck. Listen, everybody wants a wireless, I would love to have a wireless device for the Amiga. And if you've got a wireless device with this, and you never need to take it out, and there's no cord, you're in. This is exactly what you would want for a wireless device. Same thing with a mouse. That's my ultimate goal, was to get something that I could record, or that I could stick in there with, and it would just work. So that's hopefully what we're going to find. But first impressions, you know, I'm pleased with them, to be honest with you. I like the fact that they're cheap. You know, so many, here's the other one right here. So many of these, this is what the mouse was hooked into. So many of these little items for the Amiga cost a fortune. And hey, I'm not blaming anyone. It's just that's the way it is. Stuff's expensive, but I think what you've got here are two reasonably priced items. Or again, you don't have to buy two. You can just buy one. Yeah, but I think they're reasonably priced. And so far, with the joystick I got working with it, the gamepad I got working with it, and the mouse, they do what they say they do. The rest of that to be determined. I'm not saying rush out and buy one. If you want to wait until I'm sure we can do a more thorough looking over of these when I get to the computer club and we've got more devices to try. But if you're feeling froggy, like I said, I'm a gambler. I went ahead and bought a couple. I feel satisfied, and I wish the guy nothing but success. And if you've got one of the other supported devices, you know, your Amstrads and your Atari STs, C64, or even the Mega Drive, and you want to use a USB device, that's a pretty cool deal on any of those systems, I think. Or your CD32. Hey, CD32, get your wireless joystick, you're in. You are in. And hopefully on the CD32, you'll have full button support. Again, I urge you to go to spinpoint.org/Imperium. That's IMPERIUM / and I'll put a link down in the notes. But I urge you to give this a whirl. You know, go to the webpage, look around, see if it's something you're into. And if you think you can, if you feel like being a frog, you're one of the first adopters, go in there and get you one, because the price is right. So, join us for Computer Club on Saturday, and we will give these a full rundown. Also, join us Friday for everythingamiga.com. We're going to be doing an Amigos live stream on Twitch. Please check out our Twitch channel. On there, just look for Amigos Retro Gaming, and also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Amigos Retro Gaming on there. Which obviously you're watching this now. Give us a subscribe. We appreciate it. I will see you guys at Computer Club for a thorough rundown. But there's a quickie for you. Until then, adios.
Hi everybody, welcome to
Yippee.